Synopsis of the books of the Bible. 1 Kings. By JND Darby. All scripture is given by inspiration of God, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. 2 Timothy 3 verses 16 and 17. Synopsis of the books of the Bible. By John Nelson Darby. 1 Kings, chapters 1 and 2. The proclamation of Solomon as king. Before David's death, the iniquity and ambition of a son whom he had not displeased at any time led to the solemn proclamation of Solomon, to whom God had destined, and David promised, the throne. In this circumstance, Job, long restrained by prudence in David's lifetime, shows himself as he is. He makes himself necessary to Adonijah, as he had been to David. Abiathar, long under the sentence of God, takes the same course. Solomon, the elect of God, who held his rights from God, did not suit them. But after all, man's prudence fails before the judgment of God. God arranges events in such a manner as, sooner or later, to exhibit the most prudent in their true light. Apparently, all goes on well. The elder and beloved son of the king, the captain of the host whom David himself could not resist, and the priest who had always accompanied David, are as well as all the king's sons, excepting the elect of God, but the thought of God, or his will, had no place there. The companions of David, who had truly served with him for the glory of God, were not there either. The prophet of God, the witness to his will, is employed in the fulfillment of that will, and Solomon is proclaimed king, and inaugurated before the eyes of David himself. Righteous judgment executed by the king reigning in glory. David's faith, if it had not energy enough to give each one his place in judgment, had at least full intelligence of what was proper. He communicates his judgment to Solomon, who is to execute it according to his word. See note. Solomon at first shows clemency to Adonijah, but the still restless will of the latter, who desired the deceased king's wife, awakens the righteous judgment destined for those who had failed in integrity, and who had risen up against God's anointed. It is the first character attached to the king reigning in glory. He executes righteous judgment in the earth. There is no escaping the vigilance of this judgment. This is seen in the case of Shimei. Note. It is to David also, and not to Solomon, that God communicated the plan of the temple. Solomon, in glory, performs these things and possesses the requisite discernment for executing justice and judgment, but it is in David that intelligence displays itself. In fact, if Christ, reigning in glory, exercises just judgment, he is already wisdom, and, indeed, it is in his connection with the assembly in the present time of grace, that the communication of the purposes of God, and the intelligence of his ways, are found. End of note. We find at the same time the fulfillment of the word given to Samuel, namely, the humiliation of the priest. Solomon, Jehovah's anointed, sends Abiathar away and puts Zadok in his place,